So this week is part 5, and this is about controlling our anger. Controlling our anger. Now remember, we're not just talking in this series about controlling behavior. And it's important that we recognize that. Some people get angry and they don't lash out, and so they think they are controlling their anger. But I want you to understand that internal anger is still anger. Do you know someone who gets angry and they pretend they're not angry, and they get very tight, and they're very careful about the way they speak, and they're very controlled, and they go round the house being very careful that they are not lashing out, and you are just on eggshells the whole time, because they might say they're controlling their anger, but you know they're not controlling their anger. That anger is controlling their mood, it is controlling their mouths, it is controlling their actions, but they've internalized it. They're not lashing out everywhere, but that's not enough. We don't want to go through life controlling our angry behavior. What God wants us to do is to be able to control our anger, control our emotions, not just the way the emotions make us behave. So that's what we're talking about in this series. And today, I want to talk about 3 things to do with controlling anger. Number 1, what causes anger? And for some of you, you'll be thinking, it's not what causes anger, it's who. It's who causes anger. It is that person who winds me up. It is them that make me angry. It's not a what, it's a who. Because whenever I'm with them, I always get angry. We might think it's the situation that makes us angry. But God has something incredibly profound to say about what causes anger. From James chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You want something, but you don't get it. You kill and covet, but you cannot have what you want. You quarrel and fight, and it goes on. Fundamentally, you are angry because you don't get what you want. And that's probably a new idea to you. You're probably thinking, well, that isn't really what makes me angry. I get angry with situations. I get angry with people. I get angry with treatment. Let me show you what I mean by the thing that makes you angry is when you don't get what you want. So let's start simple. The queue is moving slowly. Whether you're driving somewhere and you get stuck in traffic, as Hillary did yesterday or Friday on the motorway, when the motorway was closed and very slow traffic. Don't know if it made her angry or not. But when a queue moves slowly, it could make you angry. Why does being in a slow-moving queue make you angry? It is because you want to be going quickly. You are not getting what you want. When they're not ready for you, have you ever been to an appointment and you turn up at the hospital or the doctors or whatever, your interview, whatever it is, and you're there on time, and then you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait because they're not ready for you. There's other people in the queue ahead of you. And it might start to make you angry. Why does that make you angry? It's because you want to be seen there and then. You're not appreciated. You get angry because somebody doesn't appreciate you. You do all that stuff and you get taken for granted. What did you want? You want to be acknowledged. You want to be appreciated. If you're not listened to, you get angry because you want to be listened to. You don't want to be ignored. You want to be heard. If you are treated badly, you get angry because you want to be treated well. You are not getting what you want. If someone attacks you, if they verbally attack you or physically attack you, either way, it makes you angry. You want a peaceful life. You don't want to be attacked. You want to be able to go about your business. And you can't if someone attacks you. If someone leaves you, you feel angry because you didn't want them to leave you. If that relationship breaks up and they want to break it and you don't want to break it, you feel angry because you didn't want the relationship to end, so you feel angry. If it's not fair, if something happens and it's not fair, it makes you angry. Why? Because you want it to be fair and you're not getting what you want. And the last one, you're getting angry because someone's getting away with something. They did something to you in the past, you went through an experience, and you want them to suffer, and they're not suffering. You want them to be affected the way you've been affected, and they're not. You're not getting what you want. If you look at any situation, when you get angry, you will be able to work out the reason why you are angry is because you are not getting something that you want. It goes on in verse 2 to say, you want something, but you don't get it. You kill and covet, but you cannot have what you want. You quarrel and fight. So what this is saying is, you get angry because you don't get what you want, and then that leads to extreme reactions. It's a funny thing, isn't it? It suggests there you kill. Well, I've never killed somebody when I was angry, but you sometimes feel like it, don't you? You sometimes hear some people say it. They get distressed and angry and they start threatening. It provokes extreme reactions in us. It's almost like we can't control the situation, so we lose control of ourselves. We lose control of our moods, our mouths, and our actions. And this is why anger is such a massive problem in the way that it controls us, in the way that it affects society, in the way it affects our relationships, in the way it affects our families, in the way it affects our workplaces, because people don't get what they want, and it provokes an extreme reaction and takes control of situations and relationships. So, let me talk about the second thing, which is what help can there be in that situation? And I first want to talk about things that are relevant to anyone, whether you're a Christian or not. These are truths that will help anyone in a situation of anger. And I particularly want you to think about this if you're getting angry, and especially if you regularly get angry. Either because you're like an angry person, or there's a situation where you are regularly angry. There's a place, there's a person that you are regularly angry with. So, for any individual period of anger, or if you're regularly angry, here's 4 things to help you. First, ask yourself, what aren't I getting? If you're feeling angry, it's because you're not getting something. What is it that you want in that situation that you are not getting? See if you can identify it. And it might not stop you getting angry, but it shifts the question. If the queue is moving slowly and you feel anger rising within you, and then you feel the anger and you say, hang on, why am I feeling angry all of a sudden? Yes, it's because I'm in a slow queue and I'd rather be somewhere else. I want the queue to move quickly. Now, that action will start to affect your anger. You stop focusing on the anger and you start thinking about why you're angry. And that actually brings your level of anger down. You can ask yourself, is it reasonable for me to feel angry about this? You know, I'm stuck in the supermarket queue. I feel angry. That old person in front of me is really, really slow at packing. Well, hang on. Is it reasonable for me to feel angry about that? And if you think about yourself, you will often say, actually, no, it's not reasonable. The person's going as fast as they can. There's no need for me to be angry about this. And the action of saying, what am I not getting? Is it reasonable? Can help you to bring your anger down. Now, of course, sometimes it will be entirely reasonable that you're angry. You are entirely entitled to whatever it is that you want. So it's not as straightforward as that. But the next thing to ask yourself is, well, what's the best way to get what I want? If I'm angry because I want something, well then, is there a way of getting what I want? Can I express it without anger. The anger doesn't help. So instead of it being something about you being angry and lashing out and feeling bad, if you identify, well, this is what's making me feel angry, then you can start to say, well, hang on, how can I get that thing that I want? Can I express it without anger? Because I'll let you know, anger is a habit. And the more you express anger as anger, the more angry a person you become. It becomes your go-to feeling when you don't get what you want. And we all know people who are like that, don't we? We all know people that if they don't get what they want, they get very angry very quickly. They're unreasonable. They don't even realize it often. So, by checking ourselves, what am I not getting that I want? And going through that process, it can really help us to moderate how we're feeling. Not just our behavior, but the actual feeling. Second thing, if you're in an argument with somebody and they're angry, ask yourself, what aren't they getting? See, the first thing you do is you ask yourself, I'm angry, what am I not getting? Second thing is, well, hang on, they're angry too. What are they not getting? And it might not stop you getting angry, but it shifts the question, like I said a minute ago. And you can question, is it reasonable that they feel angry about this? Because if you understand what they want, you might consider, well, actually, I'd want that in their place too. It might be reasonable that they're not getting what they want, and that can help you to understand the person. Of course, sometimes they're being unreasonable too. Third thing, does it change the way that you respond to them? This asking the question, what aren't they getting? Can I respond to them differently? Because now I understand the reason they're angry is because they're not getting that, whatever it is. And finally, it can change our response by us asking, well, how can I help them? How can I help them to get what they want? And then they won't be angry anymore. Of course, that all assumes that it's a reasonable thing that they're angry about. If they're being unreasonable, you don't necessarily want to help the person. So, first, what am I not getting? Second, what are they not getting? Third, simple, obvious, try and calm yourself down. Try and calm the situation down. James, in chapter 1, verse 19, says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. Calming down the situation often is quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. What can you do to help yourself do that? Really simple stuff like closing your eyes, especially if you're not talking to a person, if you're angry with the situation, just close your eyes for a minute, cut yourself off, count to 10, slowly, breathe slowly. Little things like that can really help you calm down. And the last thing I want to say about anger that will help anyone is vent your anger safely. Okay? You will get angry, you will feel it within you, and you need to vent it safely. First, you don't just bottle it up. Bottling up your anger is a bad thing. That is controlling behavior, not anger. If you feel the anger and you simply suppress it without dealing with it, without wondering what it is, am I wanting that I'm not getting, how am I going to address it? If you simply internalize and bottle up your anger, you will control your behavior, but you're not actually controlling your anger. And the problem is, what is inside you comes out. I spoke about that in part 1 of this series. The emotions that are causing problems, they come out of us because they're in us. And if you bottle up your anger, it will come out. And it will come out when you don't want it to, and it could be against people who may not deserve it. You bottle up your anger in one situation, and then you go into another situation, and you'll be angry, and you're snapping at people, maybe people in your family, somebody does a tiny thing wrong, and you overreact. Why? It is because you bottled up this anger, and it came out over here. So, you need to vent your anger safely. How do you do that? First, sometimes leave before you do or say something you regret. If you're in front of somebody, if you're in confrontation, and you want to vent your anger, but you know it's not a good thing to vent your anger at that person, well then leave. You can even say, look, I'm just gonna leave before one of us says something or does something that we'll regret. And literally just remove yourself from that situation to another place. Hit a pillow, not the wall or the person. I've met people occasionally, sometimes angry students, where I used to teach, and they would have bruised knuckles. And the number of times it was because they'd hit a wall. The anger came, they got frustrated, and they just went, bang, and they hit a wall. I'll be honest with you, hitting something, doing something physical, running as fast as you can, or something like that, can be a big stress reliever. But do it safely. Punching your wall, you might break your hand. So, by all means, punch something. Punch a pillow, not a wall. Talk to someone who can help. If you're bottling up your anger, if you're suppressing your anger, let it come out at a place where someone can help you, so that it does come out, but in a safe environment. Understand this: past hurts can grow. If there is stuff in your past that you've never come to terms with, you've never been able to move on from, and there is an anger that is within you, and this might be people in this room, or it might be people watching online, if you know that that's you, that you've got a past anger or a past hurt that's generating anger, that can grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And it starts coming out in other places. It starts spilling out, like I was talking about in part 1 of this series. So, if they can grow, you need to get them out. And the best way to get them out is to talk about them, understand them. Also, when you understand, frustrations can grow. We might not be talking about specific anger, but frustrations. So, at the moment, there are more angry people around. Do you know why? Because of the COVID and the lockdown and all that sort of thing. People are not getting what they want. They want to be able to go out. They want to be able to talk to anybody, to go to any place, to have a holiday abroad or whatever. All these things. And they're not big things, but they make a frustration. And they all add together to make us frustrated. Do you know what? You can talk to someone about that. If you simply internalize it, it can be very harmful. If you get with somebody else and you both of you just go, this is doing my head in. I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I'm fed up with that, and I'm the same. And you just have a good old vent, and then you come around to saying, but there's nothing we can do about it, so we'll just have to lump it. Vent in a safe place. That way it doesn't come spilling out at a bad moment. So that's 4 ways that you can be helped, that anybody can be helped in a situation where they're feeling angry. But now I want to move on to some help from God. Specific things that God will help us with. Now these require you to go to God. These require you to have faith. Okay, some of these require you to be a Christian. Otherwise, they don't apply to you. First one is this. Shout at God, not people. I was talking a minute ago about venting your anger safely. God is a brilliant person to vent your anger at, and he's fine with that. Lots of times in the Bible, he shows that people release the pressure on them by venting at him. Classic example, Psalm 13. And Psalm 13 begins by saying, "O Lord, how long will you forget me? Forever?" Now that's a pretty venting statement, isn't it? It's like, God, you forgot me, and you're going on forgetting me. And what, you're going to forget me forever and ever and ever? It goes on. How long are you going to look the other way? How long must I struggle with anguish in my soul, with sorrow in my heart every day? So they're pouring their heart out to God, and they're going, why, God? How long? But then, as the time goes on, the verse goes on, verse 5 it says, "But I trust in your unfailing love. I will rejoice because you have rescued me." Talking to God by venting, but then coming round after you've vented to a healthier place, is a brilliant way to deal with anger. So that's the first one. Shout at God, not people. Second one is this: to be changed by God. To be changed. Because sometimes it has become a part of our personality to be an angry person. Sometimes the hurts of our past are so deep within us that we can't sort them out, that we need more. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come. One verse about transformation, one verse about being changed. And we talk about connection, transformation, position in this fellowship. And as we connect with God, God will actually change us. God can soothe out that anger. He can deal with those past hurts. He can support us in our frustrations in a literally supernatural way. So, I encourage you, if you want that help from God, specifically ask about being changed. Acknowledge that you're struggling to cope with anger when you don't get what you want, and ask God to help you and change you, and he will. And the final thing, understand that Jesus did not get everything that he wanted. He is our example. He is who we aspire to be like. And I was talking about earlier about recognize you're not getting what you want, and thinking, how might I get what I want, and dealing with your anger that way. But understand, Jesus and us, we don't always get what we want. Last week I talked about the fact he was disagreed with, betrayed, criticized, hated, lied about, persecuted, physically hurt. Jesus didn't want those things to happen, but they did. It is normal not to get everything that you want. That is completely normal life. That's true whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian. But God gives us far more than we deserve. And this is where the Christian thing comes in. You see, I don't get everything I want, but then if I start to look at what I do have, if I start to look at what God does give me, if I start to count my blessings, see what I am thankful for, that has a transforming impact upon me. Forgiveness. You know, at a simple level, the fact that I am forgiven. When I am angry at all the things that people do wrong, and I remember, hang on, God could be angry at me for all the things I've done, and yet I am forgiven. That has an impact on your anger. Heaven. When I look at anything that goes wrong in this world, when I look at any problems that I have, anything that I don't get, and that it makes me angry. But the truth is, I'll go to heaven. And then the fact that I didn't get as many material possessions, or I didn't get treated as well as I wanted here on earth, it will all vanish away. It will all be insignificant as I spend eternity with God in heaven. So as a Christian, my perspective utterly changes. I'm angry about these things happening here, and then I think, hang on, in a million years' time, will I care about any of this stuff? When I've been in heaven for another 6 billion years, this stuff will just have vanished completely. To be honest, it'll vanish straight when we go to heaven. But you see what I mean? We get angry about little things of little consequence on such a tiny time scale. And it's normal that we don't get those things that we want, but we get far more than we deserve. We have that promise of heaven and everything that goes with it. So, these are the keys that I want us to remember today. Firstly, remember that anger comes when you don't get something that you want. So anytime you see anger, either in you or in somebody else, you can start to use this as a tool. What Are that person not getting what am I not getting, which is the source of this anger? It will reduce your anger, and it could give you a tool for a way forward. Secondly, use that understanding that your anger comes because you're not getting what you want. Use that to control your anger, not just your behavior. Vent your anger safely, because you sometimes hurt people by venting your anger. And you know that people sometimes hurt you by venting anger. So make certain that you deal with that anger. Don't leave it bottled up, festering, growing. And you know, I just feel God saying to me that, I don't know if they're in this room or it's somebody who's going to watch this video later, but there's a reason that someone is a really angry person. And you're suffering because of their anger. And actually, something happened to them. Something that's nothing to do with you. But because of what happened to them, they have suppressed that anger from the past. And it has grown, and it is just spilling out everywhere. And that person needs to understand that. And it might be that you're the person to recognize it and say to them, does this anger in you, is that coming from something in the past? Because the amount of anger you have doesn't seem to match the situation you're in. Where is that anger coming from? And that might be the catalyst that gets them to seek some help, whether through church or whether through professional counseling. That might be what causes them to deal with something from the past. Because trying to deal with what they want here and now, you've got this problem, you're seeing this angry person, you're thinking, what do they want? Actually, I think in that situation, the anger is spilling out from something that happened that they didn't want to happen, maybe a long time ago. And it's spilling out now. So, vent your anger safely, but also, if you see someone who's not venting their anger safely, maybe you need to talk to them about how they can do that. And finally, going to God. Going to God to get that support. Going to God to get that help. And that's what we're going to do now.